superstar. He is an absolute superstar, Tom Mitchell. Cripps at the back. Cripps is too good. Nil, yes! Oh, how good was that?
G'day Ball Magnus crew. We're lucky enough to be joined today by big Harry Mckay. Mckay,
yeah.
Mckay.
Got it right. Good man.
I knew that, I was just testing that. He's a big fella. He's 205 centimetres.
Yeah, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
Keeps going up.
He's pretty tall. About 7 foot. Big unit, weighs about 105, but we're still going to talk today about his journey from when he first got drafted. He's put on a lot of weight. Had some sort of injury setbacks, but he's done a lot of work on his body and his craft. I mean, he was in a position now to be a Coleman Medalist, which is a huge achievement. But H, firstly, thanks for coming on, big fella.
No worries, mate. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's always good talking to you. But we'll go back to when you first got drafted. Pick 8, the 2007 or 8?
10.
Were you 10?
Yeah. Steal, they reckon, at 10.
We cut that out. Yeah. So. Still the draft, in the words of Big H. Mate, you came in. You would have been. You've grown since you've got to the system. How light were you when you first?
So I reckon I was probably 88 kilos. I reckon then I was 200 centimetres. So I've probably grown 5 centimetres since being drafted and put on. How's my mass going? 16, 17 kilos probably, which is it's a lot when you say it like that, but it's probably gradually year after year. Put it on just a couple. But looking back at some photos, or even we got Big Lem that's just coming to the club, Harry Lemmy, and kind of just takes you back a little bit and reminds you like how far you've actually come body wise. And I've just been talking to Lem a little bit about just kind of enjoying this process because it can be frustrating as like a young player coming in, knowing you're a little bit behind physically to some of the other guys in the league, but really enjoying the process of learning and maturing your body, and it's actually a fun process when you look back at it.
We'll touch on that. Like I think it's important. Like as a young key coming in, like I think key's probably the toughest position to sort of make a jump early, just because the guys you play on are already built. So sort of advice for sort of young sort of key forwards sort of coming in. You said like some of the process was frustrating, but like what's the things that you learnt during that time?
Yeah. So as I said, it is frustrating, but I found that the more lessons, tricks, bits of craft that you can learn now when you haven't necessarily got a body, it'll hold you in really good stead to when you do have a body, if that makes sense. So now when you get to a stage like 23, 24 and you mature, you can use your strength and size to kind of out muscle and out body guys. But if you pair that with some tricks and craft you learned when you weren't physically mature, then you got the best of both worlds. I reckon some of my craft and skills and tricks I learned when I was really immature physically holds me in really good stead now. So I've kind of got a bit of both, I reckon. And so I've been talking to someone like Lem, just although it's frustrating, like the more you can learn in these couple of years when you will get beaten around a little bit and thrown around, you'll be better for it in the long run. Yeah,
I was sort of chatting to Russ before, like I was a late developer, which is a bit like you. Like I was small as a junior, so I actually learnt to, like you said, the craft elements around stoppage, not using your size. You actually learn all these sort of craft tips, and then once your body develops and that, you've got some of the best of both worlds where you got the size but you also got the craft. So I think it's important, like I always talk about growing, like when you train, like there's 3 parts you sort of train as an athlete when you try and get the best out of yourself. Like you got your craft component, which you sort of touched on, that's all sort of skill-based moves, sort of body positioning. You got your body where you're trying to build up your body, endurance, your strength and all that, and then sort of your mindset as well. There's sort of like those 3 pillars that throughout the week, if you're trying to plan your week out, there's sort of different elements of your game that you can sort of tap into. I know you're very well planned, and I've seen firsthand the work you've sort of done to progress. You're probably one of the most detailed guys I've seen. How do you sort of structure your week to sort of get the best out of yourself?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm pretty similar to you, and obviously we're alike in terms of planning your week and being really detailed. I think what you touched on in terms of nearly breaking your footy down into 3 elements is really important. So in terms of planning my week, I reckon body and how I'm going to maximise my body for the week nearly, so I can train well, play well, is nearly the first thing that comes first. So what I'm doing away from the club, what I'm doing at the club to be feeling fresh and recovering well. We can talk about a little bit about that in a bit more depth. But so body's nearly number one. Then craft, so what I'm actually going to get out of when I'm on the track every week, and how I can grow my game, and off field as well. So watching vision, talking through game stuff with our coaches, watching other players, doing some extra hands, whatever it is, goal kicking. And then the mind space is really important, I reckon. So work with a sports psych, and then even just self-reflection on what I thought maybe that day, that week. I think that's really, really important. It's something probably the last 12 months I've added in a lot. Just like journaling and self-awareness being really high. So I think that's really important. But yeah, probably those three key pillars, I reckon, and then you can just tick off every day that you've done something for those three. Is really important. And then you're just structured, so you know you can sleep well at night, knowing that you've done everything that you can in that day to get better, basically.
I think like we always talk as athletes, like doing the work gives you confidence. So like if you have a plan and you actually know exactly what you're going to do in the week, then at the week you can sort of look back and say, look, I've ticked this off, I've done the work, now I can go out there and sort of play. You can start playing on instinct more, I think, when you play.
And you're never definitely going to play well. Like no one can guarantee you that. But I just think that gives you the best chance to play well. So, mate, you're going to have days where you play poorly, and I've had plenty of those. You not as many probably, but
I've had a few, mate.
So, but it just gives you the best chance to play well. So you can go out and play with confidence and play with freedom, knowing you've given yourself the best chance.
I think we'll go back to, like you said, body's number one. It's so important because you got to ability to recover, and go again. There's so much we can tap into with the body, but sort of give a few examples. Like we'll touch on probably more recovery first. Say, what things do you do? What do you focus on to try and give you the best chance to recover so you can reduce again, week after week?
Yeah, so a few things. I'm sure it's been spoken about before, but your key pillars of like your eating and your sleeping, I reckon that's just crucial. And for kids, boys and girls listening to this, it's never probably too early to, sleep really well and eat really well and have a healthy lifestyle. But making sure you really nail your sleep window. Big on getting 9 hours when I can. Every night, and then so that's just so you're pretty fresh and you're well recovered in that aspect. Eating, nutrition's massive, and I know we talk about it a lot, Rick, but I've probably learned there's definitely nutrition in eating, and there's like performance eating. So looking at ways you can actually eat to be better on game day and training, and how you can recover from that. So those two are really, really high. And I've probably done a lot of in terms of specific body stuff, a lot of like Pilates. We talk about DNS as well. I know you've spoken about this on the podcast before. Massive on that. So it's probably, DNS is about making sure you can move efficiently as possible, and I've found that really good over the last probably 6 to 12 months as well. It's been really influential. And then Pilates, an hour a week, sometimes 2 hours a week, just making sure core, glutes, groins, back, everything's just kind of finely tuned.
We sort of had Russ in before, and he sort of talked about sort of young athletes sort of coming through, like sort of 12 to 18, like probably the importance of sort of that Pilates-based stuff even before you get into the big weights.
Absolutely.
We both had a back injury before. You've had a few injuries, I've had a few injuries, but this importance of that part of sort of your body, like it's sort of everything sort of goes through that. So like you get those small muscles sort of operating, sort of working well, then allows the big muscle groups to fire even better. I remember Russ said to me, I had OP, which is kind of groin related issues in, I think it was 2019, 2020. He said, although it's frustrating at the time, this will actually be nearly one of the best things for your footy, because you'll do so much work between like your knees and your hips. And he's dead right, like the amount of work that I did off the back of that for your, as I said, glutes, hammies, core, those little intrinsic muscles around there, held me in really good stead. And I guess I'm probably like a different athlete off the back of that, I reckon, like really powerful and, more powerful and, stronger. And I think it also like nearly bulletproofs you for soft tissue as well, I reckon, the more like intrinsic Pilates-based stuff you can do. It's like you said, mate, Pilates, DNS, really good, and mate, that range of motion, stretching, and that even from a young age is so important. I probably didn't stretch enough when I was as a kid, but it's something of importance, I think, for injury prevention, but also longevity in the game. The more range of motion you have in the joints is important. One thing I want to touch on with you, you said you got to the club at 88 kilos, so you're like beanpole, mate. You get knocked over with a strong breeze, but now you're 105. You're lifting massive weights in the gym. You can see out in the field how much stronger you've got. Just want to touch on the diet sort of side of, and sort of your strength side to sort of put on weight, and I suppose the importance of putting on weight, but also doing it in a sort of controlled manner. Yeah,
massive. Yeah, I think it's a really good point. So I think the trap you can fall into as a young 17, 18, 19-year-old is, oh, I need to put on 10 kilos, 5 kilos straight away, and I think that can be unhealthy. So you see a lot of kind of stress-related injuries. I had one with my back. I know you were similar. A lot of guys they put on weight in a really quick space, and then all of a sudden they break down.
Yeah.
So I found that although you know it's going to take kind of a 3 or 4 year window, just kind of gradually putting on weight so you don't sacrifice getting injured or ability to move. So I think it's crucial you have to be able to move, especially as a key position player. Like, you can be strong as you want and heavy, but if you can't move, you're not going to be able to make it at the top level. So making sure they work together, so you're not getting really heavy and strong, but then you can't move.
Yeah.
But also you've got to have some size on you. So knowing that it's going to be a 3 or 4 year process, but chipping away at it slowly, and just knowing that it will hold you in good stead doing it that way.
Yeah.
And then the eating side of things that ties into that, I probably didn't really fully click with my eating stuff until probably a couple of years ago. But the ability to what you do and what you put in your mouth, and how that actually assists you putting on weight and lean muscle, and that relationship's crucial. And I probably didn't understand that until a couple of years ago, working with like a really good nutritionist. But those things are really important. So, and as I said earlier, it's never too early to start researching and looking into ways you can eat and promote that healthy lifestyle even as kids.
Yeah. Talked about elaborate a bit more before with Russ as well, like the importance of when you're a young age, sort of 12 to 18, the importance of playing as many sports as you can, enjoying your sport. What would be your biggest advice, but also things you've learnt now that if you went back, say, to a 12-year-old athlete again, what's something you would sort of recommend sort of for that sort of age bracket, you reckon?
Try hard on my right foot, I reckon. Earlier would probably be trying to catch up now. It's tough work, but I probably might sound a bit cliche, but really enjoying what you do. And I think now we're in a position where you can look back, and it's our job, it's our full-time work, but we often talk about like remembering why you started playing and the joy and the fun that associated with that. And even now, like, guys are chasing that again. So you want to be part of a successful environment that has fun and wins together. So I think going back to 11, 12, 13, that's still like of highest importance. Building relationships with people. I can play in as many sports as you can, because skills are actually transferable. Not sure I was a great cricketer or a tennis player or anything, but I'd like to think that just being around and active and being involved in sport helps your skills. So there's definitely that side of things. What else would I say? Just interesting. Just try things and try and just have a go at everything. Even I know we joked about it, but exploring both sides of your body. Playing different positions, just trying stuff.
And I suppose you're not going to be good at everything you do.
Yeah, try.
I think sometimes it's actually important, like, if you're really good at something, you actually, I suppose the humility side of actually not being good at something and actually chipping away and sort of having a crack at it.
And actually,
even say for your opposite foot, like I'm the same, like you're working at it now, but if you're not good on the opposite, like get going early on the opposite side. It helps you, long term.
I think it's pretty good principles for life, isn't it? Like chipping away at something and if you're not great at it, then putting in some work and seeing results. I
want to go back to planning your week, because I think it's still one of the most undervalued sort of things in sort of high performance, but also just in sport. But I know how planned you'd be. So you get in on Monday, say we finish on Saturday, you would know basically every part of the sort of week, and not like to the point where it's like minute by minute, but like say we train at 8:30. That's the team meeting. You'd know exactly what you're doing pre-training. We do training. We got craft 15 minutes post-training. You know exactly what craft you're doing on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, the main sessions. Like, how detailed do you go with that stuff? And is there also a tipping point with it, do you think?
So I'd say I'm very detailed, and probably, so at the moment we train on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm from I don't know, it sounds fun, but from 5:40 a.m. in the morning, I know exactly what I'm doing by the minute to our meeting at 8:30, and then post that, and then it's very detailed. But for me, I get confidence off being like that, and I feel like that gives me the best chance to prepare. There's definitely, I'm in the boat of, I think that would help everybody being prepared. There are different guys who are a bit more kind of relaxed and aren't as planned. But for me, I feel like that gives me the best chance. But again, a lot of my planning is just around when I'm eating, when I'm doing mobility and stretching, doing DNS, when I'm getting taped, when I'm eating again, when I'm going to start doing some craft, when I'm going to do vision, when I'm going to do some extra goal kicking or touch. So it's pretty much those three key pillars we talked about earlier. But again, it sounds repetitive, but it gives you the best chance to execute what you want and then play well and train well off the back of it.
I think like everyone's like, I'm like you. I like to be planned just because I feel like it gives you the best chance. But there's also, like you said, different personalities that still can get what they want out of in a different method. But I think having some sort of structure in your week, like, some people might not be as detailed, but I think if you have structure, what it does give you confidence, but you just tick every box throughout the week, and you don't leave it up to chance. I think, and I think that's really important. And we know what confidence that comes off. You got to do the work.
I think there's different degrees and different, because like you and I are very like nearly written in a book what we got to do. But even if you look at a guy like Charlie, who's probably a different end of the spectrum to us, but he'd still be pretty planned on what he needs to get out of his day and what he needs. And if it's his goal kicking or craft or what he's got to do, he still knows what he needs to get out of the day. It might not be as regimented and written down as us, but it's still he knows what he's got to do to give him the best chance to play well.
Well, that's the example I use. Always like you and Charlie. Both won a Coleman, both are high level performers. Different approach in terms of, I suppose, personality types, but they're still the same way to get the end goal, depending on what works for you. We'll finish off on mindset, because we've sort of touched on sort of the body and the craft element. Sort of mindset, you said you touched on it in the last sort of year especially. I'm massive on mindset. I think it's got a huge sort of role in sort of high level performance, but also as you go through, the ability to stay positive with your self-talk and sort of taking on challenges. What sort of stuff have you sort of dove into with that? And don't have to go in full detail, but sort of basic principles you sort of use around it.
Yeah, so probably I really started looking into it probably since end of 2020. I probably started with goal kicking, because I was missing a lot and I was really frustrated, and I started seeing a sports psych external from the club, and without going into too much of it, but a big thing for me was, because I guess I'm a little bit of a perfectionist and want things to go well, with my kicking and even overall performance, I expected it to be perfect the whole time. And then it was nearly allowing myself to fail, and that being all right. And I even had like a couple of cues and mental triggers that told me it's okay to miss. And it's really not a good thing to miss, but it's completely fine to miss. You don't mean to miss, but that's all right. So I think, as I touched on before, like having self-awareness to know how you think, what makes you tick, and why you think a certain way, and then you can put some stuff around it to adapt that or change that a little bit depending on what you need. So I still think it's massively untapped. I'm still like learning heaps about it, and definitely no expert at all, but I think it's so crucial. It'd be 90% would be mental, I reckon, of AFL footy. Maybe not quite 90, but it'd be close. So I think the more guys can learn about themselves, learn about the mind and how it actually translates on field, it's only a good thing. So it's massive.
I agree, mate. I think it's especially, and I even reckon with doubt, like, it doesn't matter how good a player. There's at times when you have doubt, and it's the way you can reframe that and get your confidence back. And doesn't matter if you're the first one picked or the last one picked in a team, or what age group. Everyone experiences that at some point. Right, we'll finish off, mate. We've covered a fair bit. You've been unreal. I think I might have touched on it before, but like 3 main points. If you talk about 3 main things to a young athlete, what you would do, or what you'd focus on, what would it be?
So look after and respect your body. So I think it ultimately comes back to you learn the best and you get the most out of yourself and you develop the most when you're on the training track and game day.
Yeah.
And you have to respect and look after your body so you can do that. Yeah. You can't train if you're injured, you can't play if you're injured. So respecting your body, it's a temple, so you got to look after it. Second would be mindset. So even from young guys and girls' age, you can still be thinking, exploring like the power of the mind and even just mindfulness and meditation and kind of as you develop, you can look into that more. But I think understanding how you think is really important. Yeah. And then 3, have fun because even as we speak about now, that's what we're chasing. We're chasing winning and having fun as mates. So never forget why you started playing footy because it was because of fun and because of the people around you. So it doesn't matter what level you get to, have that as front of mind. Yeah, mate, that's unreal. I'm sure any young athlete out there would all benefit from that, mate. So great chat. I know all the work you do, mate. So thanks for coming on. No worries, mate. Thanks for having me. Good man. Big fella.